Hey everybody, I am Keaton. This is Good Catholic Season 5, Episode 23, and before we get into today's topic, which I am very excited for, just to give you guys another heads up, coming up very, very soon, Episode 25, this is Episode 23, is my Q&A video, so not next week, but the next one, the season finale, where I will answer your guys' questions. All you need to do is comment a question on my YouTube channel or on my Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. That's all you need to do using the hashtag AskKC. That way I can find your question a lot easier. So go ahead and do that if you want to ask a question for the upcoming Q&A video. So I am very excited for today's topic because very, very soon, coming up on Thursday, this is Tuesday, so in just 2 days, I will be receiving the sacrament of confirmation, and I am very, very excited. I cannot wait. I'm so blessed to be able to receive this sacrament, to have my family there. It's going to be so cool. So I thought, what better a topic to do than confirmation? So let's get into it. Confirmation is a sacrament, and the definition of a sacrament is an outward sign instituted by Christ to give grace. So, when did Christ institute this sacrament? Well, he instituted it at Pentecost, on Pentecost Sunday, and I have the Great Adventure Bible right here. Acts 2, verse 1 through 4, we read, "When the day of Pentecost had come, they were all together in one place, and suddenly a sound came from heaven like the rush of a mighty wind, and it filled all the house where they were sitting. And there appeared to them tongues as of fire, distributed and resting on each one of them. And they were all filled with the Holy Spirit and began to speak in other tongues as the Spirit gave them utterance." Let's get into the setting, right? It's after Jesus' resurrection. So Jesus had died and then resurrected and then ascended, right? These apostles are scared, right? They know that they need to go, but Jesus was just crucified, right? In the town where they are in, Jesus was just crucified as a criminal. If they came out and tried to preach what Jesus was preaching, they would be killed too. And so they were scared, right? The apostles were scared. They were in the upper room, the place of the Last Supper, the place where the sacrament of the Eucharist was instituted. And they didn't know where to go or what to do. And then the Holy Spirit comes and fills them with strength. And we read right here, they were able to speak in tongues. What happened after that is Peter went out to a balcony in the upper room with all these people looking at him, right? And these people spoke different languages, yet Peter spoke in tongues so that every one of them could understand him, which is absolutely incredible. So that's when the sacrament of confirmation was instituted. When the apostles were scared, they didn't know where to go, they didn't know what to do, and then the Holy Spirit comes down upon them and strengthens them. Strengthens them with the Holy Spirit, gives them courage to go out, and gives them courage to go out and eventually be martyred, right? Because all except for one of the apostles were martyred, and that apostle is St. John. He was almost martyred. He was thrown into a pot of boiling oil to be martyred, but he survived. So that sacrament prepared them to be martyred, which is absolutely awesome. A lot of times, confirmation can be viewed as sort of the choice to become Catholic, right? Like the choice when they're a teenager and we decide to go into the Catholic faith and this is what we want to live our life. And I guess you could symbolically say that that might be what it represents, but that's actually not the main purpose that it serves. The main purpose that confirmation serves is strengthening to go into adulthood, to be ready for adulthood, because adulthood is going to get so much harder, and we know that. And so we kids, we teenagers, we need to be strengthened in order to be ready for that, in order to stay close to God. It's a strengthening to be ready for adulthood, to be ready for the Catholic faith, and just like the case of the apostles, to be ready for martyrdom. Because like I talked about a few episodes ago, we live in the 21st century, we live in America. Martyrdom isn't happening right now, but it very well could get to that point. And so the sacrament of confirmation is something that prepares us not only for adulthood, not only to go through more struggles, but also to stay close to Jesus through everything, through every struggle that we experience in our life, to stay close to Jesus, to remain faithful, to resist the temptation of sin that we get tempted with every day, right? To stay close to Jesus. That's what confirmation allows us to do. It's a strengthening. It's sort of like our shield against the rest of the world, right? It's our Catholic shield ready to enter society with, so that we can be protected and strengthened and ready. It can also strengthen us to be proud of our faith, right? To not be timid about our faith. I'm not going to talk too much about this because I talked about it just a few episodes ago, but to be proud of our faith, to not be timid about it, right? To be able to go out and express our faith to others, whatever way that may be. It doesn't have to be through giving talks or something. It can be simply by wearing a Catholic t-shirt, simply by having a conversation, being proud of our Catholic faith and not being ashamed of being a Catholic. Confirmation gave strength to the apostles in their time of need, and confirmation gives strength to us in our time of need. Something else that we do in confirmation is we choose a confirmation saint. Now, growing up, I knew that we chose a confirmation saint when we were to go to confirmation, but I never really understood why. I never really got, sort of why we do it, just because they're a saint, I guess. But the real reason is because at the end of the day, our ultimate goal is to get to heaven. That's what our ultimate goal is, right? Our ultimate goal is to get to heaven. That's what we are all called to do. The saints that have done it. And did you know everybody in heaven is a saint? Even if they're not named a saint by the Catholic Church on earth, they are a saint. Everybody in heaven is. But the saints that are named a saint by the Catholic Church are the saints that we 100% know are in heaven, right? And so they've done what we are all trying to do. And we don't just pick a saint to pick a saint. We pick a saint to mimic that saint, to try to imitate that saint, to try to live our lives like that saint lived their lives. And there's so many saints to choose from. There can be so many saints who fit your exact perfect situation that you want to choose as your confirmation saint, right? There are so many options that we can choose from. Saints, these confirmation saints, these patron saints, we are to have for our entire lives, for the rest of our lives, right? Until we die. And even when we get to heaven, we can still have that confirmation saint, right? So confirmation saints are so vitally important because we can look to that saint throughout our life. When times get really, really tough, when times get really hard, we can look to that confirmation saint who achieved the ultimate goal, because the saints are just like us, right? They feel the same pain as us. They are human just like us. They sin, they made mistakes just like us, and yet they did it. So we can do it too. And that's why saints are so vitally important. And that's why we choose them in confirmation, because confirmation is a strengthening to get to heaven. And saints have gotten to heaven before us. So they have been able to use that strength to get to heaven. So I want to tell you guys the story of my confirmation saint. Why I chose who I chose. So I chose Saint Croce, based off the church Saint Croce in Jerusalem, that is in Rome, that I went to. If you saw my Rome vlog, then you know that in that church it had a ton of relics, some awesome relics. It had a thorn from the crown of thorns, it had a nail that pierced Jesus, it had a beam from one of the thieves' cross, it had a piece of Jesus' cross, the eye in our eye sign. There were a ton of awesome stuff in that church, and it really did hit me, and I loved that church a ton. And so this was sort of the period when I was choosing my confirmation saint. It was back in September. And I really didn't know who to choose, and so I thought Saint Croce in Jerusalem. And we Googled it, who is Saint Croce in Jerusalem, and it turns out it means the Holy Cross in Jerusalem. Okay, just to clear things up, it's called Saint Croce in Jerusalem, but it's in Rome, so. But it means the Holy Cross in Jerusalem is what Saint Croce in Jerusalem means. So Saint Croce is the Holy Cross. Now, at first I thought, I can't choose that as a confirmation saint. It's not a saint. I have to choose somebody else. And at that point, I was completely lost. I didn't know who to choose. So we talked to a priest about it, and a priest who's actually been on Kid Catholic before, Father Chris. And he actually said that, why not? Why can't it be the Holy Cross? Why can't Saint Croce be your confirmation saint? And so I chose Saint Croce, but I still wanted a person, a human, who I could look to, who I knew have been through life before, who has made it to heaven. And so I still wanted that. And so I chose some patron saints. So I have my confirmation saint, which is the technical saint that I am looking to for confirmation, which is the Holy Cross. And then I have my patron saints, who I can look to at any time. You can have multiple. My patron saints are St. Clare of Assisi. I was lucky enough to be able to go to Assisi in September, and we got to see her tomb. It was absolutely incredible, and so she really hit me. And St. Mary Magdalene. I was lucky enough to go to Magdala in December and get to see where she grew up, where her village was. So St. Mary Magdalene and St. Clare of Assisi are my two patron saints. And then I have St. Croce, which is my confirmation saint. So that's why saints are so vitally important. So just to review, confirmation was instituted in Pentecost when the Holy Spirit came upon them, right? When the Holy Spirit came upon the apostles, gave them strength when they were lost, and bam, confirmation starts. and then it kept being used to strengthen us, right? Because something that I want to emphasize is that it is the Holy Spirit, right? It is the Holy Spirit that gives us this strength. The Holy Spirit is our shield, and the Holy Spirit becomes our shield against the rest of society when we receive the sacrament of confirmation. Confirmation provides the strength of resisting temptation, staying faithful to Jesus, loving Jesus, right? Because the reality is most kids who leave the Catholic Church when they're in college, right? And this confirmation comes before college. It does. And so this is sort of a strengthening to hopefully prevent kids from leaving the Catholic Church and keeping us faithful to Jesus Christ. Unfortunately, it does happen, and kids do leave the Catholic Church, but that's what the sacrament of confirmation needs to help with. We can't just receive the sacrament, we have to use the sacrament. We have to use the Holy Spirit also, right? We have to use the graces from the Holy Spirit that we have been given through the sacrament. We can't just receive the sacrament and go on, right? And that's what happens with some people who leave the Catholic Church as they get older after receiving the sacrament of confirmation. And then we pick a saint, because saints are so vitally important to us, and we can pick multiple. We can have patron saints and a confirmation saint as well. So yeah, I'm super, super excited to be able to receive this sacrament this Thursday. It's going to be super awesome to be able to receive it. It's going to be super fun, super cool to experience. So, let's get into today's Saint of the Week. No, that's not how I do it, Keaton. Come on. Now it's time for
the Saint of the Week.
So for today's Saint of the Week, we are going to do Saint Clare of Assisi. I figured since my confirmation is coming up, I do one of my patron saints. And like I said, Saint Clare of Assisi, I was lucky enough to go to Assisi in September and get to see where she grew up, get to see where she lived, get to go to the Basilica of Saint Clare. On opposite ends of Assisi, you have the churches Saint Clare of Assisi and then Saint Francis of Assisi. So they both have their own church dedicated to them, which I think is really cool. Saint Clare of Assisi actually had a younger sister, Saint Agnes of Assisi. She's a saint too. To be honest, I kind of feel bad for Saint Agnes because people know Saint Francis number one, and then a lot of people know St. Clare, and then St. Agnes is sort of the forgotten third. So, St. Agnes of Assisi, we love you. Anyways, something that's super cool about her life is she actually, when she was 18 years old, she heard Francis preaching and speaking to the people, and she wanted to be like him. And she actually dedicated her life to become like St. Francis. And what I like about this so much is she mimicked a saint. Before St. Francis was actually a saint, right? St. Francis hadn't died yet. He wasn't named a saint by the Catholic Church. Yet she still mimicked him, right? Which is what we're trying to do through the sacrament of confirmation. With the sacrament of confirmation, when we choose our confirmation saint, like I said, we need to imitate that saint, right? St. Clare of Assisi mimicked and imitated St. Francis, which is something that we need to do to our saint, which is really, really cool. St. Clare of Assisi started the Order of the Poor Ladies, which was later renamed to the Order of St. Clare. And a lot of people think that St. Clare of Assisi and St. Francis of Assisi spent a ton of time together, but something that I heard in Assisi was that they actually didn't spend a ton of time together. They knew each other, they would write to each other sometimes, but it wasn't like they were best friends like a lot of people depict them as. But what's so cool about that is that they didn't spend a lot of time together, yet they were so spiritually intact with one another, right? Spiritually, St. Francis knew about St. Clare of Assisi, St. Clare of Assisi knew about St. Francis, so while they didn't spend a ton of time together, they were still spiritually connected in a very beautiful way, and both ended up saints. Now, one of the coolest stories, I think, of St. Clare's life was one time, these soldiers were going to attack Assisi, were going to attack her hometown, and she didn't want that. She came out of the exterior wall of the town and showed to the soldiers she had the Holy Eucharist in her hands, and she knelt and prayed to God to save her in the town, to save Assisi, and all of a sudden, just like that, I actually snapped, just like that, the soldiers were struck with fright. All of a sudden, just terrible fright, and they fled and never harmed a single person in Assisi. How awesome is that? Not only does it show her dedication to prayer, her dedication to Jesus, her bravery, right, and showing the Eucharist to that, also her ability to trust Jesus, to trust that she was going to be saved, because if she didn't trust and that didn't happen. Soldiers would have come and killed her first because she was right on the exterior wall holding the Eucharist, right? Yet she trusted God, she trusted Jesus, and Jesus ended up sparing her and the rest of the town. But it also shows the power of the Eucharist, right? How amazing the Eucharist can be. St. Clare of Assisi used that as her shield, right? Which is absolutely awesome. And that's something that I love about St. Clare. Something that we can mimic about St. Clare is her ability to imitate a saint, even though, again, he was living, he wasn't named a saint at the time, he still ended up being a saint. Also, her bravery, her trust, her faith, just everything about her is so complete and so trustworthy. And like I said, she was a human too. She made mistakes. She sinned too, just like us. And she still completed the ultimate goal, which we can do too. All we need to do is look to the saints. And for me, one of my patron saints, look to St. Clare of Assisi. So before you guys go, just a quick sort of, I don't know what to call it, announcement. So we're going to have a bonus video this week. Coming up Thursday morning at 7:30 a.m., I will be posting an epic collab, a pilgrimage video. And basically what it is you go to these different Catholic channels and you go channel to channel going on sort of this pilgrimage, right? And they explain different things. I explain about the pilgrimages that I have taken, right? I explain about what I did in Rome, which is really cool. So that bonus video will be coming, but you can't just watch it first. You need to go to all the different Catholic channels, help support other different Catholic channels. There are so many cool Catholic YouTubers who are involved in this. I'm so blessed to be able to be a part of it with these other Catholic YouTubers. It's going to be super fun, so keep an eye out for that Thursday morning. Also, if you want to book me to come speak, I recently spoke at St. Charles again, so thank you guys so much for that. I had a blast. If you want to hear me to come speak, all you need to do is go to kid-catholic.com/contact and email me from there, or you can email me straight up at kidcatholic1@gmail.com and message me details about where you want me to come and what you want me to talk about, and we can work out details from there. Also, I have t-shirts available. If you want to help support my ministry, then you can go to kid-catholic.com/shop and order your very own Kid Catholic t-shirts today. Also, if you're not already, please click the red subscribe button down below and the bell next to it. That way you get notified when I come out with a new video. I have a ton of new subscribers as of recently, and if you're new here, I post a new video every Tuesday about a Catholic topic. So just turn your notification bell on and you'll get those notifications Tuesday when I post. Also, please like the video. Please check out all 3 of my social medias, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The link to all 3 of those will be in the description and in the comments below. Also, you can visit my website, kidcatholic.com. Go check me out over there. You can read about me. You can contact me. You can shop. You can do all sorts of things over there. All my videos are on there, so go check that out as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. This was Kid Catholic Season 5, Episode 23. Again, guys, don't forget the Q&A video coming up not next week, but the week after that. So go check that out. This was Kid Catholic Season 5, Episode 23. I will see you all next week, and hi, Brio!